What is up, you guys? We are back with another awesome film. And have you guys sat and thought about what would happen to a 600-pound bear if it was on cocaine? Well, we're about to find out. The movie opens with a drug smuggler named Andrew dropping a bag of cocaine from his plane. He also carries a duffel bag of cocaine and tries to parachute down, but he accidentally hits his head on the door frame, which knocks him out, and he falls off the plane and dies. The next morning, his body is found in Knoxville, Tennessee. Detective Bob arrives at the scene and immediately recognizes the body and concludes that the cocaine must be from the St. Louis drug cartel, which is led by Sid White. Meanwhile, in the national forest located in Georgia, we meet Olaf and Elsa, a young couple going on a hike and planning their wedding. Once they reach the top of the mountain, Olaf takes out his camera to capture the beautiful forest, and he sees a bear acting all weird. He zooms in on the bear with his camera, and he watches it eat and snort this white powder. And even though he doesn't yet realize what the powder is, we as the audience realize that it's cocaine. The bear has been eating cocaine since last night, and it's already become addicted to it. The cocaine also has another side effect, making the bear very aggressive, which is something Olaf and Elsa haven't really figured out yet. Thinking that it's probably a friendly bear, Elsa tries to approach it, but the bear charges at her and attacks her. The bear grabs Elsa and drags her through the bush, and Olaf tries to grab her hand and pull, but Olaf only sees her severed leg returning as the bear eats the rest of her body. But even though Elsa's dead now, Olaf does manage to escape, saving his life for the time being. In St. Louis, Sid calls on his fixer David and orders him to get the cocaine back to him before anybody finds out. David then meets up with Eddie, Sid's son, who's been depressed since his wife died of cancer. Eddie has even left his son with Sid and hasn't visited him in a while. And David thought that this mission would help Eddie take his mind off his wife's death, but he was very wrong, as Eddie sobs all the way from St. Louis to Georgia. Back at the police station, Bob is also informed of Sid's plan, so he travels to Georgia and leaves his dog with another police officer named Reba. Next, we're introduced to Sari and her teenage daughter Didi. Didi is in her rebellious phase as she skips school with her best friend Henry so they can go paint waterfalls in the forest. Didi and Henry managed to make it into the park without being seen since the park ranger Liz was in her office getting ready for a date with a wildlife activist named Peter, and in this scene we see that the park is very understaffed as we only see one park ranger in the whole park and she's not even doing her job well. Anyways, while the two delinquents travel through the forest, they find a brick of cocaine. Henry then starts bragging to Didi that he's done cocaine before. I guess he was trying to impress her. And Didi then asks him how it's done and he tells her to eat it with a spoon. So they both eat the cocaine and immediately spit it out as both of them hate the taste. Then suddenly, the bear appears in front of them and they start running away. Meanwhile, Sari gets a call from Didi's school and is told that she didn't make it to class today. Sari then quickly figures out that Didi must be at the forest since she's been bugging her about painting the fall for a while now. She then immediately takes her bike and she rides to the park. She gets to the station just before Liz and Peter leave, and she tells them that her daughter is missing in the forest, and they all go to look for her. A few minutes later, David and Eddie reach the park. David goes to the bathroom to pee, and just as he finishes, he gets attacked by a bunch of delinquent teenagers wanting to steal his money. But luckily for him, David beats them all up. During the fight, one of the teenagers, Stashy, drops a brick of cocaine, and David then threatens to kill him if he doesn't show him where he got the cocaine, and Stashy agrees to lead David to the gazebo, which is apparently where he stashed the rest of it. Detective Bob has also made it to the park, and he follows the main path to the forest. Meanwhile, Sari, Liz, and Peter were following the trail of the falls, and they soon run into Henry, who's climbed a tree. When Sari asks him where Didi is, he tells them that the bear took her. And before Sari can ask more questions, the bear comes out of the bushes and attacks. The bear scratches Liz's leg, but she manages to escape and she runs back to the station to call for help. Next, the bear attacks Peter, but Peter couldn't escape and he dies, and Sari and Henry run deep into the forest and escape. Liz reaches the station and finds two teenagers attacked by David. They inform her that they already called for an ambulance, and a few moments later, they hear a sound outside the door. Liz then takes out her gun and tells the boys to open the door, but when they open, the bear was sitting there just staring at them. Liz tries to shoot the bear, but instead of the bear, she ends up blowing one of the teenagers' brains out. The other teen tries to hide, but the bear finds him and eats him. A few minutes later, an ambulance with two paramedics, Beth and Tom, arrive at the station, and when they open the door, they find a badly hurt Liz on the floor. Tom opens another room and finds the bear eating a person, and they leave with Liz in the ambulance, but the coked up bear chases after them, and he manages to jump into the ambulance and kill Tom. Liz also falls out of the ambulance and her face is dragged on the road, and she also dies. And finally, Beth crashes into a tree, causing her to fly through the windshield and die. Okay, back to the forest. Sari and Henry find a paint trail made by Dee Dee, and Sari figures Dee Dee is leading them to where she is, and they follow the trail. At the same time, the teenager was leading David and Eddie through the forest, and he and Eddie start to bond. And the teen even gives advice to Eddie on how to be a good dad. They finally reach the gazebo, but when the teen goes to get the cocaine bag, he finds it empty. Then Bob, who's gotten there first and appears at the roof of the gazebo, points his gun at them and tells them that they're under arrest. Everyone puts their hands up, but Bob is scared of heights and can't figure out how to get down from the roof. Using this opportunity, David tries to get his gun, but Bob sees him and shoots off 2 of David's fingers. David then runs and hides under the gazebo where Bob can't see him. And they are now in a standoff, and Bob can't get down and David can't escape. But just then, the bear shows up out of nowhere, but it doesn't attack them. It takes a few steps and falls asleep on top of Eddie. And Bob and David make a truce so that David can go check the bear's pulse to make sure if it's dead, which it was not. And Eddie figures out that the bear is actually a female. David accidentally drops a brick of cocaine, and the bear wakes up to the smell of the cocaine and swallows it whole. She then starts wrestling with Eddie, and as you can imagine, with her power and claws, this could lead to his death. Bob then throws a whole bag of cocaine to distract the bear, and then tells them to run away as he's letting them go, but just before they leave, Bob is shot from the back by Sid, and it's revealed that Officer Reba has been working for Sid all along, and she's also the person that led him to Bob. And the only reason Sid came was to make sure that the cocaine was recovered. Eddie advises him to just let it go since the bear has it, but Sid reveals that his superiors will kill him and his family if he doesn't deliver. Meanwhile, Sari and Henry walk for some time and they encounter a grieving Olaf, who's alive and still in the forest for some reason. Sari asks him if he's seen a girl, and he tells her that he has and offers to lead them to her. Olaf takes them to the bear's cave, but he was afraid to enter, and he gives them a flashlight and runs back. When they get into the cave, they find 2 bear cubs covered in cocaine powder. Sari calls for Dee Dee's name, and Dee Dee answers. They get reunited and they embrace each other deeply, and Dee Dee reveals that even though her leg is hurt, she can still manage to walk. Sari, Dee Dee, and Henry run to the back of the cave as they hear the mama bear coming back. They find an opening at the back which leads to the ledge behind the waterfall, and meanwhile, Sid and his group are also closing in on the cave, and they find a dead body, and apparently it was Olaf, and he was killed after he was running back. The group make it through the front entrance, and they find a couple of bricks of cocaine on the floor and collect that. Reba is scared to get any further, so she leaves, and the rest get in deep, and they run into Sari and the kids. Sari tells Sid that they just want to go home, but Sid puts his rifle on her and shouts that nobody's leaving until he gets his cocaine. They find another bag, but the bear cubs run to them when they smell the coke, and Sid fights them back, but the mama bear roars from above. Sari comes up with a plan and tells Dee Dee and Henry to jump into the river, and the 3 of them jump together, landing in the water safely. Eddie and David tell Sid to do the same, but he refuses to leave without the cocaine, and the bear then jumps at him, but he manages to wound her. The shot that he made doesn't kill the bear, and so the bear attacks again, and this time she successfully kills him and eats him. During this time, Eddie and David jump into the river, also surviving, and David is a little hurt, but Sari patches him up. In the last scenes, we see the survivors make it back to the station, and Sari takes Dee Dee and Henry back home, and Eddie and David meet up with Reba, and she gives Eddie Bob's dog, and they both have decided to stop the drug business, and Eddie goes back to get his son. In the end screen, we're also told that authorities never recovered any of Andrew's dumped bag of cocaine, and as far as anyone knows, they're still in the forest to this day. By the way, if I did not mention this before, this movie is actually based on a real story. Yeah, if you don't believe it, look it up. It's actually true. And this is how Cocaine Bear comes to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed this recap. Make sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I love you guys so much, and I promise to see you on my next recap. Bye.